Wanna play?
Here's Johnny!
I need a bigger boat.
What's your favorite scary movie?
We have such sights to show you.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wanna Play. My name is James McKenna, and today we're going to be ranking another franchise. I know how much people like these franchise rankings, so I'm going to try and do more of them. This time up, we are going to be ranking all of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead films. So in this franchise, we have Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, skip ahead, 20, 30 years, then we have Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and Survival of the Dead. I'm not going to be including any of the remakes, and I'm not going to be including any of the spin-offs like Return of the Living Dead or anything like that. It's just George Romero's 6 zombie films that he directed because, well, he's the grandfather of all zombies. He literally invented them. So I'm pretty sure this counts as a franchise, although none of them are really sequels to each other. But yeah, George Romero's Living Dead franchise. People count it as a franchise, so it's a franchise. And today, I'm here to rank them all for you. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So coming in last place, and this might be a shocker for some people, but that's going to be Land of the Dead. This is Romero's 4th movie in the Living Dead franchise, and so what happened with this is he did Night of the Living Dead in the 60s, Dawn of the Dead in the 70s, Day of the Dead in the 80s, completely skipped the 90s, and then finally came back in the 2000s to make Land of the Dead. And I feel like it's not that he lost his touch or anything, but I feel like he almost ran out of ideas because this is the most similar to all the other ones. Like, you have elements from all of them. The zombies are a lot like the ones from Night of the Living Dead, and they're in a mall just like in Dawn of the Dead. But there is some pretty creative scenes. Like, this isn't a bad movie by any means at all, but it's just a little bit forgettable. Tom Savini's in here though. He is a fun cameo, but that doesn't really stop it from being probably the most, at least for me, the most forgettable movie in the franchise. And at number 5 is going to be Survival of the Dead. This is the newest one in the franchise and the last one that Romero made before he passed away. And this one is also pretty good. Like, I really do like this one a lot. I love how different it is from the other ones, because the other ones, they're like in the city or in this town or something. This one, they're on an island, and there are 2 people who basically own this island, and they have like this family feud going on. It's like Romeo and Juliet. But it's a really cool dynamic of how these 2 families absolutely hate each other, and they both have different like opinions on the zombies, and you see how they interact and stuff, because one of the families thinks that the zombies should be killed, and then the other ones thinks that the zombies should be left alive and like trained to not eat the people and to rather eat something else. There are just some really good dynamics in here, and I really like the characters. Like, this is one of the most underrated sequels in horror history. The characters are great, and it actually acknowledges events from past movies, which is pretty cool. And you know, every time I do these lists, there's going to be a controversial pick, and that's where this one comes in. Because at number 4 is going to be Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is awesome, don't get me wrong, it is a classic, but it just drags on a little bit too much. I even watched the shortened cut. There's a cut that's 30 minutes longer, and the shortened cut just drags on. It doesn't need to be nearly as long as it is. And you don't really have that much going on. I like the mall setting. They could do a lot with that, but I don't really think they did that much with it. Like, there are some great scenes, like when they're in the certain stores and they're using weapons from there, and those are always cool. And I do like the zombies. The practical effects in here are just awesome. This movie really set what practical effects were. That's basically this movie's legacy. It's one of the first movies to use like real good gory practical effects, and I have so much respect for it for doing that, but just it's not great. It's forgettable. It drags. The characters are good, but they're not my favorite. So Dawn of the Dead comes in at number 4. I know it might literally be only me who thinks that, but hey, it's my list. What are you gonna do? And at number 3 is going to be the third movie in the franchise. That's Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is really good. I like how different this is, and I like all the practical effects in here. This probably has the best practical effects work in the entire franchise. But let's be honest, most of the characters are pretty annoying. All they do is scream. They're just screaming at each other, screaming at each other, screaming at each other. Nobody likes each other. Everybody hates each other. And it's just really, really, really annoying in that regard. The stuff that brings it back for me, though, is definitely Bub and Frankenstein. Bub is probably my favorite zombie of all time. He's so cool and he's so funny, especially when Frankenstein's teaching him, you know, how to salute, and he's like, is he gonna, hey, there he is. And he's teaching him how to, like, listen to music, and then at the very end, top 5 kills in all of horror for me. The main sergeant, who I hated throughout this entire movie, really, really good written character, really good actor. He made me hate him so much, and I'm so glad that he got such an amazing kill, where he just gets completely ripped apart by all of these zombies in one of the best displays of practical effects of all time. It's such a good kill, such a good movie, and it comes in at number 3. And coming in at number 2 might literally be the most underrated horror movie of all time, in my opinion. That is Diary of the Dead. This is Romero's second to last film in the franchise, and it's so good! It's freaking amazing! I don't know why people don't like this, or people don't give this enough attention. It's so freaking good. It's so good. Diary of the Dead is just so original, creative. It's the most different in the franchise. It's not the most original because I guess Night of the Living Dead invented zombies as a whole. But this is just so good. I love how it's like sort of found footage, but like not really. Like it doesn't try to be real. It's just so good. And then whenever it's not found footage, it's like they use like cameras, like security cameras, and it's just, it's so creative. We have some awesome and hilarious kills. The characters are amazing. Some of the most memorable characters in all of horror. It's just, it's so good. You get a fun cameo from George Romero himself in here. It's just so fun. It's such a fun, creative, different, original zombie movie. And I don't know why it doesn't get enough respect. It's so good. Seriously, if you haven't seen Diary of the Dead, you don't need to see any of the other films in this franchise because none of them really connect. They're all kind of like their own story. So you have to check out Diary of the Dead. It's awesome. Seriously, it's so good. So good that it deserves to be number 2 on my list. But in at number 1, I know it seemed pretty obvious what it's going to be because I've talked about this movie so much on my channel. This movie I've talked about way more than any of these movies. And I think I will continue to talk about this movie way more than any of these movies. And although I honestly don't think that this movie is as good as, for example, Diary of the Dead, it's just so influential, possibly the most influential horror movie of all time. It's Night of the Living Dead. It has to be. Romero's first film. Yes, it's boring. Yes, it drags. But it invented zombies. It invented zombies. Amongst just so much other stuff. You got all the political stuff in here, and you got it's amazing. It's amazing. It's so good, and with such a low budget too. Like, it's awesome. The acting is great. The direction is great. It's one of the scariest movies ever. Whenever Barbara walks up the stairs and you get that quick push-in on that dead skeleton. Absolutely terrifying. It's just so scary. The sound design is so scary, and the characters are so good and memorable, and how they don't like each other, but they have to get along in order to survive this. And they're falling out at the end, and just, oh my god, Night of the Living Dead is freaking fantastic. Top 20 horror movies of all time for me. One of my favorite zombie movies, one of my favorite horror movies in general. Number one, easily, is Night of the Living Dead. Thanks for watching my ranking on the Living Dead movies. Now, what franchise do you want to see me rank next? I think next I'm going to do Final Destination, so that's going to be pretty fun. And there's just a bunch more that I could do down the line. Maybe Saw. Maybe Scream. I don't know when Scream 5 comes out. So, yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching this ranking. Check out Crow's Nest too if you want. That movie's awesome. Everybody who's seen it says that it is freaking fantastic. Check me out on Instagram at JamesFromWannaPlay. Give this video a like. And if you liked it, give me a subscribe. Although you probably didn't, because you're probably like, why is Dawn of the Dead at number 4? Well, because it's boring. So thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night. Bang.